part of that zone is going to be rezoned to Porter, and we'll actually look at that part right now when we go to Porter. But the estimated enrollment for Hannah will be somewhere in the area of 2,624 to 2,988, and the large range actually accounts for all of our magnet kids.
And in those tabulations, in year 2 of the high school, when we take juniors and seniors,
Yes.
will this number further decrease?
No.
Or they can potentially stay at 2988?
Yes.
Yes, I have a question.
Yes.
On Pablo Quisel, you have 3 subdivisions into one pocket. You have your Chaparral, your Mission Trails, your April Gardens.
Right.
So if you're saying Chaparral, Chaparral is not a very big area. So, because on Chaparral, you have your Alta Mesa. Alta Mesa runs right off of Pablo Quisel and all the way up to Paredes.
Right.
So,
The dividing line is Stagecoach.
so then that means that you're gonna have from Stagecoach, which is your Mission
Right.
and your Chaparral, not just Chaparral.
Right.
Because Mission is in the middle. April Gardens is closer to your Paredes line, and your Chaparral is closer off of Pablo Quisel. So those are things that we need to make very clear, because right now you said Chaparral, but that's why I'm clarifying that in that little pocket, you have 3 subdivisions. It's not just Chaparral.
Right. When we do the rezones, we really don't focus on neighborhood names, or because we do know that it's called Chaparral. But for myself, the only area that I know that is in there is El Chaparral. Now I know that there's 3 other subdivisions. Just like when you're over at Alton Glory, it's El Valle Grande West, and then there's El Valle Grande and all those other areas. But for zoning purposes, we deal strictly with streets and basically just the area. So I appreciate the clarification.
I think that a lot of times it does make a difference when you categorize it as a subdivision, because then you clarify to the people in the community, well, from here to here, we're gonna be over here, and from here to
Right.
there, this is where we're gonna be at. I mean, it's just makes a little bit more sense.
Right.
Because if you would have said Chaparral, then everybody says, well, we're all here in Chaparral.
Right.
But no, there's a division there, believe it or not.
Right.
Mr. Aguilar? Stagecoach, you mentioned, you said Stagecoach is also something that you're using as a division, meaning the east and west?
Right.
So is it west of Stagecoach?
West of Stagecoach is going
Goes
to
to-
Memorial. Memorial.
Memorial, okay.
Right.
And then
the east stays with Hannah.
Okay.
Which is where the Stripes gas station is, at the corner of that
Right.
road.
There you go.
Corner.
There's a
Because
good
everything
landmark.
to the opposite side, that's Los Fresnos, which is your woodland.
Correct.
your-
That's the woods.
Mr. Springston, I mean, isn't our intent to, sorry, Mr. Ayla, isn't our intent to further reduce the population
It's not
at
working.
Hannah? I mean, if you could stay between 2,700 and almost 3,000 students, that almost seems to defeat the purpose. We're gonna have, that's still
The number of students.
a extremely large number of students. I mean, I think that, I'm not sure that I agree with your all's map, because you're leaving way too many kids in the Hannah zone.
And Mr. President, you know what? I'm going to tell you that if we are building this school because for the reason that we want to alleviate some of the saturation of the number of students, it seems that we push students to one direction and then we bring in still students to where we're removing some of the students. I mean, that's how I see it, because the population, you're still telling me that there's still going to be 3,000 no matter what we do.
Well, if you look at the attendance zone, just the zone itself, if you take the boundary, just all around the perimeter, there are 2,624 students. According to my zoning map, there are 2,624 students in that area. The increase to go up to 2,988 is actually the magnet students which come from all over the city. You're looking at about 300 magnet kids that go into Hannah for the medical program. So it basically becomes a balancing act in terms of you have the attendance zone, and then of course you have to adjust for the magnet kids. At this point, we don't know what the magnet program is going to do at Memorial. It may attract more kids than we expect. It may attract less. But at this point, the only thing we can do is draw the zone, put in the magnet programs, and then as we grow and as the school starts to fill up, then we start making adjustments from there.
I mean, you can come back and shift the lines, sometime next year again.
If we have to, they can be.
Yeah, why don't Mr. Cortez, Mr. Sayas address it, and
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, I'm almost done though.
Your eyes look tired.
I mean,
I'm almost done, Mr.
You look
Sayers.
real
I have
tired.
One more question.
You're out of order, sir.
That doesn't seem to make any sense, Ben, to come back and change it next year. I mean, you don't want to disrupt those families next year. I mean, if the district's gonna change those boundaries, change them once, set them, and try to leave them that way for as long as possible.
Right.
Mr. Aguilar?
Mr. Sayas, we already talked.
Sorry, sir.
Give you the opportunity, Ms. Peña, let Mr. Sayas.
Yes, sir, I apologize.
You all need to learn how to be a little bit more professional. Mr. Estrada, out of the 2,600 people, 24 that you're expecting, are you expecting any of that population to be taken to another magnet school out of, I guess, Memorial or wherever?
It's quite possible. It's quite possible. Again,
And
when
is
we're
there any
talking
way
about-
to gauge that, have an understanding of how many you expect of that might leave?
At this point, probably not. And the reason for that is since Memorial is only opening with 9th and 10th graders, until we get the 11th and the 12th graders in, we won't know the impact of the magnet program.
Okay, knowing that you have the, I guess, the constant of about 300 kids coming into the magnet school of Hannah, wouldn't, just so you get, what would be a prime number? Maybe Ms. Alacon can help us out with that. What would be a prime number of students to have at Hannah total, including those 300 kids? Maybe she can help us.
Good evening, Mr. Springston, Mr. Aguilar, members of the board. Every year, it's been tradition that we get estimately about 150 students, and that's incoming 8th grade students into our 9th grade program from throughout the city. So we have, and actually it's almost closer to 400 students that we have in our TM magnet program. Out of those 400, about 150 are freshmen, and that's been
What would be
tradition.
the premium number of total students for you to have, including those students that come in your magnet program? And the reason I'm saying that is if we know that we're going to have the constant of 300 kids, as he said, 400, whatever it is, I would think that you try to adjust your boundaries so that the bottom base number, the ones that actually fall within your district of 26, 24, you try to make it lower that number.
Understanding that we only have one strand of TM students coming in. We have, one English, Math, Social Studies, Science, and Health Science Technology. That's for our incoming freshmen. With over 400 to 450 students that apply to this program, we accept about 125 to 150 students. So I guess, if I'm understanding your question correctly, if we were to lowball it, we would get about 100 students. That would only be about 50 students less.
No, I don't think you're answering my question. What would you want as your maximum amount of students in your whole school?
Oh.
What would be a premium number for you? Like,
In the
and
perfect
don't say
world.
1,000.
1,000.
Yeah, 1,000.
I mean, 2,600, 2,500. What would make Terry Alacon happy?
Okay. With an auditorium and
Yes, with your auditorium that you want.
I'm sorry. Remember, Mr. Springston said I will mention it every time. I think that probably no more than 2,500. I mean,
Okay.
to try to remove all of the portable buildings that we have, that would be.
That'd be premium. That'd be your wish list.
Yes.
Okay. And so what going on with what Mr. Cortez was saying, Mr. Estrada, is why don't you try to adjust the boundaries to get that 26, 24 numbers down? Because we know we're going to have the constant influx of the TM students, yeah.
I'm next, I'm sorry.
But hold on. I asked
Oh,
him
over
a
there,
question.
over there. I'm pulling her back.
Yeah, we can definitely take a look at it.
Okay. That's it, Mr.
This is for Mrs. Larcon. Could you come to the podium, please? How long have you been a principal at that school?
Going on my 3rd year.
And how many number of students have you dealt with this whole time? Per year?
Between 31 and 3,200 students.
And have you done an excellent job? producing those 31.
Absolutely, ma'am.
So really the number,
Absolutely.
and I'm impressed, and I want to bring you up here to give you the credit, because the ideal number is 2,500. We understand. For whatever reason, in people's mind in Brownsville, they all move to that part of town, and they go to your school, and you do an excellent job.
Thank you.
Next year, do you see yourself, if the number stays at 29, doing an excellent job?
Absolutely.
I do too. So I want to thank you for that,
Thank you.
because apparently they like it there.
They love
If
it
you
there.
keep them happy, they produce, we get outstanding scores and produce model citizens because they like it there.
Thank you.
I appreciate your
that.
hard work.
Thank you.
Yeah. You know, we want to, alleviate some of the students from Ms. Alarcon, but I'm going to say that I'm in the business of selling homes, and the first thing they ask is, where is it zoned for Hannah? And it's very difficult. People even wait to find a house until it's located in the Hannah zone. So that's why I'm telling you that it's so difficult, and we got to be very careful, because that's the school that everybody looks for. I mean, even I've had parents, well, where is Hudson zoned for? Or I'm looking for, believe it or not, there's areas that people look for. It's a comfort zone. It's a reputation that they've already, the schools have already developed. And all I can say is that I wish that I would see a magnet building. I know that the medical program, Mr. Springston, has been very, very successful, and sometimes they've turned down students, if I'm not mistaken, Ms. Alarcon. How many students do you turn down per year because of that program is already maxed out?
This past year, we had about 450 students that applied, and we were only able to accept 150 students.
So we have a program that's being successful, but yet we're closing the doors because we either don't have the people to, be in the program, the staff, and plus we don't have the space for the students to be at. I don't know if we have, we might want to consider in the future to given the opportunity for more students to come into that program, because it's a medical program, and that's a very good career for our students to focus on.
Cortez?
No, that's a very good comment, Ms. Garcia. And I think a lot of this can become possible if we reduce the number of kids that are in school now. I mean, and 25 to 3,000 students, that just seems, it's too many. Whether or not people wait to buy a home just to go to Hannah, well, the district needs to make a decision. We've got elementaries that are bursting at the seams at 1,200, like Hudson, and it's not fair. Regardless of the tremendous job that you're doing, it's not fair on you either that we have you in a school with 3,200 kids, or even at 3,000. If this district can reduce it to 2,500, I think that's where we should be targeting.
We can definitely look at that.
Anyone else? Doctor?
Yes, Mr. Mr. Springston, on our next facilities meeting, let's talk about the auditorium.
Yes, sir.
And
Peña?
Mr. Springston and Mr. Estrada, the presentation of this attendance zone for tonight, is this an action item or just a presentation?
It's presentation. I've looked at what they've done in the past, over the past, 7, 8, 9 years, every time there was a change in attendance zones, and they've always just been presentations, because it does give us the latitude to go back and take a look at certain areas. I will say this, looking at the zones themselves, the Hannah zone is probably one of your smaller zones next to Pace. When they did open up and it is compact, there was a lot of houses in that area. And even though when you go back, when we look at the zones that we've studied, and I've gone over zones and roads and maps and looked at all this, you've got Pace that's really going to reduce a lot of numbers for the first couple of years. And conversation that I had with Ms. Garcia, we also know that there's a lot of building prospects in that Pace area that's going to build those numbers back up over the next couple of years. And so it's not like just shifting a zone or shifting a number. What I'm looking at and going to discuss with the staff, and probably in the future what's going to happen is look at our IFA opportunities and look with our bonds that we have now and look at opportunities to possibly build a couple more elementaries that will reduce our elementaries down to 650, 700 that we were planning on doing. It's just that our growth patterns just didn't take place like we wanted to, especially years ago. When you looked at Lopez, they built the school out at Lopez. There was a lot of building that was going on. All of a sudden it stopped. And Lopez is not going to be affected. Rivetta is not going to be affected, but it is going to shift some of Porter towards Pace, Pace towards veterans, and a little chunk of Hannah towards veterans. And I'm actually thinking, and I've talked this over with Ben, that we think that enrollment figure estimate number, and we're talking about estimate because of the kids that could be or could not be going as far as the magnet programs, is that we're looking at Hannah somewhere being right at 2812, and I think we were looking at that bid number, and which is almost what, 400? Is that about 400 less, Miss Terry, and what we were talking about last year? And hopefully in the future that we can look, because I remember talking to a gentleman from Seattle, and he was talking about all the schools that he had in Seattle when he was at that conference, and I was amazed at the fact that I said, well, how many elementaries do you have? And he had this outrageous number, and I said, well, what's the enrollment? And he told us the max of 250.
God, they must.
And I'm sitting there going, wow, and look what we do with schools with 1,100 in elementary, 700, 900, and the high schools that we have. I'm very proud of the fact of what we're trying to do and our success rate. But I do think that there's things in our building program that we're going to have to look at our 10-year plan. We're in the 6th year of it. I think we need to go back and redo that 10-year plan after we finish our bond programs, after we finish this QSCB program, and go back in that auditorium program. I'm going to go ahead and mention that. And look at some other opportunities that we can do to alleviate some of the numbers that we have. You want to go ahead and
Sure.
finish up?
This is the attendance zone for Porter, the area in blue. Again, Mr. Sprinkson talked about the shifting of the lines. That one area that we were talking about from Hannah that Hannah did lose is right in here. The dividing line is now Boca Chica. Right in there. We're looking at an estimated enrollment for Porter somewhere in the area of 2054 to 2232. The one most affected by the opening of Memorial is Pace High School. You'll see that the border is the highway, basically right in there. And again, the line was shifted down. We're looking at an estimated enrollment at Pace in the area of 1537 to 1625. And also, as Mr. Sprinkson mentioned, the Rivera zone will be unaffected by the rezoning. They will remain in the area of about 2280 to 2351, again, depending on the magnet students. And then finally, Lopez also will remain unaffected. Their numbers, again, based on the zoning map and the area that it encompasses, you're looking at an estimated enrollment of about 2348 to 2370. Okay? Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
So
sir.
when do we get the final?
Our final version for right now.
You can bring back another option.
Not
Or
at
you-
this-
or
not at this
basically,
moment.
you're telling us you're going to leave it at
Like this.
potentially 3,000 students.
I'm going to try to get it. I'm looking at 2850, but at that number. I know we're trying to decrease numbers by about 400, but I know veterans is, we're not going to really know numbers for another couple of years exactly how it's going to affect Hannah High School until that school is actually a full four-year high school.
Right, but
Thank you.
what Ben just presented, that's where you're going to leave it, at that
That's what we're going to leave it at.
approximate number.
That's what I'm
You
going
have
to leave
no
it at.
intentions of changing it whatsoever.
Mr. Aguilar? Ms. Alarcon? If the number stays at 28, and I want to ask you, because I'm really impressed, the biggest school does a wonderful job, and you're the head of that school. At 2,800, do you foresee any problems or anything changing from what you're doing now?
No, ma'am.
And again, thank you, because you do a wonderful job, and they all want to go there. So that speaks volumes for you.
Thank you
So
so much.
keep it up.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Item 11, presentation on the development of an ad hoc insurance committee.
Springsteen.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. During the September 15th regular scheduled board meeting, administration was asked to assemble an ad hoc insurance committee similar to the one that was as our bond oversight. I did attach for you a draft of bylaws of the committee that you would need to nominate people for and get your names into, Ms. Pettis, so that we could take a look at some different alternatives according to what y'all had asked for on the September 15th meeting.
I looked it over, Mr. I'm sorry, Mr. Dragons.
Oh, sir, that's all right, Mr. Syed.
Thank you.
You're on.
When I had brought up the idea of the concept of the ad hoc committee for this insurance, the idea was that right now we have a TPA and a preferred provider organization type system. And the thought that I had behind it was, let's look into alternatives other than that system of what is out there, and for the committee to be looking into that, not to be actually rating different PPOs or anything like that, just looking at different alternatives to that system. And under section 1 of the bylaws that you had provided, it says recommendations on options available to the district regarding provider networks. Well, that's not really what I was talking about. I was talking about just different alternatives to the whole system. So the way I had put it initially was on alternatives to the current preferred provider organization system. See if there's something different out there, like in one of the examples is like Tyler Independent School District that doesn't use a PPO at all.
Yes, and
But
we did discuss that.
You know, that kind of stuff. So as far as the bylaws, that's one of the things I wanted to change on. Another thing was I wanted to keep it apolitical as possible. And on the membership, I think we need to put something in there that there should be no previous board members appointed to this, past board members appointed to this committee. That way we can try to keep it apolitical as possible and try to keep it as fair to everybody, and have people that are really thinking outside the box on behalf of the district. And that was basically the main changes I had, and that would go into the membership section of section 1 under Article 2.
Cortez?
I just want to add to the membership part on section 1. You guys put in parentheses, 1 member from medical community, 1 from the insurance community, and 1 employee. And I know that we had talked about, possible people from insurance field, people from the medical field, but I think that, as this conversation has evolved, maybe just making a general comment of anybody that has a background in the medical field, period. I mean, it could be medical billing, imaging, whatever the case may be, not necessarily spell it out as insurance community or medical community. Make it more of a global statement. The reason I mention this is because I know that from a policy side at the state level, Representative Lucio, some of his staff have approached me about possibly being on the committee. They're not directly in the medical industry, but at the state level, some of the bills that they deal with have to deal with policy for the state at the state level, and so they may have access to different sets of information, and so the way it's spelled out there would preclude some of them from participating in this committee. So I don't know if that's something that we can also look at.
Doctor?
Thank you, Mr. President. Just to follow up on Mr. Zayas, I agree to try to keep it as apolitical as possible. So you want to exclude former board members, but not former elected officials in any other entity. Is that correct?
We can extend it to that too. It'd be good to keep just elected officials out, period.
Yeah, that's fine. Or I'd also like to include or candidates, if that's okay.
If I,
And just to follow up on Mr. Cortez, I kind of like the way we have it, someone from the medical community, someone from insurance, and an employee. I think that makes it well-rounded. I'm not sure what they do at the state level, but, you know, I think our priorities is here with the school district. I would like to keep it, as we had discussed, a medical community, employee, and insurance person. Because as I mentioned, what we want are expertise. We don't just want opinions. We want opinions with a resume behind them. So I think we should strive to keep it at that. And of course, with the overall idea of providing transparency.
Mr. Aguilar, Mr. Springsteen, and I agree also with what Mr. Cortez and Mr. Saez has expressed, because one member of the medical community, one member of the insurance community, and one employee. If we start going away from that, then we're going to go back, and we can't be apolitical, because it's just, I mean, no offense to anyone, but it doesn't, how am I going to put this without insulting people? But
I already know what
can't-
you mean.
yeah.
I already know what you mean. Everything is political, but we want to minimize that as much as possible.
Right, and if you keep it like this, you'll minimize it. But if you say, well, they can come from the representative's office or the senator's office, it's the same thing. But if you keep it in this terms, the way it's done, I think this is an excellent way to keep it as apolitical as possible.
I think I misunderstood you. So you agree with Mr. Zayas, with me,
I
and
agree.
with Mr. Cortez?
Well, I didn't understand. I wanted Mr. Cortez to clarify what he said, because Mr. Cortez said somebody from the Senate's office, so maybe I misunderstood that. Can you clarify? Or somebody's,
Representative.
well, same thing from the,
They, you know,
but that would not be medical insurance or employee unless they do have that.
That
So
would
that's
be
what
political.
that would be, what I'm trying to say is that that's what I heard him say. So I didn't agree with what Mr. Saya said.
that's not what I said.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's why I wanted clarification. I apologize.
The more you say, the more I'm confused. But if we agree, I think that's okay. It's me, it's not you.
Thank you, Mr. Aguilar. I would also agree that we would need to keep it apolitical and to
Elected official.
benefit from the expertise of individuals that can come up with a good set of ideas or plans that at the same time, if you specify insurance person, it would be something to avoid would be someone who is a vendor that may promote a particular type of plan, or anybody that has that type of interest in a particular plan. So I don't know how you would
How do you restrict
phrase
that?
that, but
No.
Well, we have something similar in our bond oversight, don't we? That it excludes vendors, or that any member is disqualified to submit a bid. Am I right?
Yes, we have an exclusion statement
we will have the
that all
same
the
thing
members have to go out and sign. They can't participate.
Right.
Yeah, that would.
Anyone else?
So we can start submitting these names. I'm sorry, or when would we like to finalize?
Where do we go from
this?
here, Mr. Sprinton?
Okay, first of all, I need to go ahead and make the changes. Mr. Reese, myself, will get with Pat, and we will look at the changes to the draft. I will go ahead and submit the draft for final review, but at the same time, you can go ahead and send your names in, and I can do everything all at once, and then send it out to you as a Friday letter, and to look at, to make any type of comment, so we can finalize this thing. I would like to get this going as soon as possible.
That was my final question, because the first thing they're going to ask is when are we starting? So an approximate timeline would be somewhere in the next few months, maybe?
I would say the next month.
The next month or so,
Yes.
okay. Thank you.
And
Item 12, presentation of Pace High School parent football tunnel. Board member request.
Ms. Peña.
Yes, I have Mr. Roman Garcia and some parents that are accompanying him. If you'll please state your name, including you, Mr. Roman Garcia, to the mic.
Yes, good evening, Mr. President, Superintendent, Mr. Princeton, members of the board. My name is Roman Garcia. I'm the president from the Pace High School Athletic Booster Club. And to my right, I got my vice president, Ms. Marisol Tostado. To my left, I got the treasurer, Ms. Sandra Gomez. And we're here that we represent the Booster Club and other members that are not here. They're working in a fundraiser. But we're asking each board member to help us raise at least about $200 to help us pay for our tunnel that we're trying to get it together and purchase it to have before the season's over. And you may help us raise more if you want.
I like that.
Thank you for your time.
Roman, I told you, don't come and ask me because I didn't have any money.
Well, I'm trying.
Mr. Aguilar?
No, Ms. Peña.
I guess I'm sure you heard that Hannah already came to us, huh? And they were successful. So I'd like to challenge my colleagues to help them raise $200 each, not out of our pockets or out of anything where it's going to cost us, but to actually go out there and ask the community to make a $200 donation to the PACE Athletic Booster Club. I commit to help you raise $200. Do I have any commitment from my colleagues here?
And
Mr. President, I mean, just before we continue, I promised the gentleman that spoke on behalf of the Hannah Booster Club, he asked me that I remind my colleagues who have not contributed their amount. I won't mention names, but not everybody that committed has paid. So before we move on, I wanted to make that point because I did tell them that I would respectfully remind my colleagues.
good. I'm glad you did because I know there are about two of them who have not fulfilled.
Not mentioning names.
No, I'm not either.
So if
But Roman,
Yes,
I
sir.
have already committed to Sandra. She's my neighbor.
Okay.
Many years. You need to come by and collect the money. But then again, thank you for coming. I'm pretty sure that is all this free publicity we're going to give you in the public live television out there.
Yes.
And want all the PACE boosters community to come up and help your school get that tunnel. It's not just you, the boosters clubs, but it is the PACE community that need and business people out there and parents to come and help you raise that money, the $7,500 that you need for your tunnel. So this is an encouragement and a suggestion that come through with it and make it easy for these people that work very hard every single day of the year to raise that money to make our young people shine in the field and also in the classroom. Anyone else?
Mr. Aguilar?
Ms. Peña.
Can I, for fear of hearing that you need 7,000, how much have you raised? I mean, how much have you raised so far?
Well, we've raised about $2,000.
So you're only 5,000
Yeah,
short.
but we still got the rest of our other parents who we're working in other fundraisers. But that's why we came to the board and, maybe when we get lucky, we get some kind of donations from you all.
Mr. Aguilar?
And we're doing this because we like to see the other schools get involved too, like we are. And I don't just only Pace and Hannah, like Rivera, they already got theirs. I wish I would see Lopez and Porter have theirs. So when we go up Friday nights at the same stadium, we see different tunnels, representing our schools. So that's what we're trying to do. And I got a picture so y'all can see what we're trying to have for Pace Vikings.
All right.
Mr. Aguilar,
Mr. Sayers?
along with Miss Peña, but I'm a PACE graduate, so I'll raise $500 for you guys.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
The one that it's his alma mater, he's got more, commitment.
Oh, okay.
That's his alma mater.
Can you double that, sir?
Good, that's what I meant to say.
Roman, what I understand is you play for the Porter Cowboys.
Yes,
and you
I
were
did.
stern supporter of Porter. Now we're at PACE.
Yeah, I got my son playing there football.
Follow your children.
Sure. Mr. Cortez.
Roman,
Yes, sir.
you can count on me for the same donation I made to Hannah High School.
Appreciate it.
Get the information to our board secretary.
Okay. I forgot to mention this, I would like to give my number because there's people seeing this meeting, out there and I would like to give my number so they can contact me for any other donations they want to contribute. And I would like to give my number is 909-0387.
Will you please repeat it?
909-0387.
Thank you, Roman. Anyone else?
Yes.
Ms. Garcia.
Roman, it's my wish to see all the high schools have this tunnel Trust me, it's in my heart, it's in my passion. And I just hope that next year maybe our finance can help. I think that it would have been a lot easier. We could have just, contributed from our general fund, because I know it can be done. I know it can be done. And it's just, I know that the students don't feel the same as the ones that do have it. And it bothers me, believe me, when I see the Eagle and I see another high school of mine that doesn't have it, it doesn't make me feel any better. So, I wish you the best of luck. I'm going to help you. I'm going to get you a couple of sponsors, and let's hope we can get the money in as quickly as possible so the seniors, the graduating seniors, will have the opportunity to enjoy the tunnel.
That's what we're trying to do. Before these seniors graduate, since there's only 3 games left of the season for the district games, of course, I know we're going to go to the playoffs, so hopefully we can have it so we can be there.
Well, I think
I like your
Hannah's
attitude,
also
sir.
going.
I know Hannah and Pace, and
Mr. Aguilar, that's going to be an excellent game.
it's going to be an excellent game.
We're already preparing for that day.
Yes.
And so if I may, for Roman's sake and his assistants there, do I have a commitment from my colleagues, for all of us, to help them raise money? Mr. Colunga?
At this time, I'm not prepared to commit to fundraising, but check with me in the future, and I can let you know.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And
Thank you very much.
you've got from all of Ms. Presas, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And myself, Mr. Aguilar, Mr. Cortez, and Dr. Escobedo. I already did. I
I
just
know he
commit.
promised me, Mr. Escobedo promised me.
Together.
Oh, thank you.
And from
Thank
the
you, Mr.
PACE
Zayas. I
cluster,
appreciate the double of that.
from the
Appreciate it.
PACE cluster, area superintendent, $100. So.
Wow, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, and thank you for
What about the
waiting.
former PACE cluster administrator?
Yes.
Mr. Springston, would you like to make a donation to your former?
An announcement you'd like to make?
Thank you,
Find a
sir.
way to say.
All you got to do is write a check, Mr.
Just write a
Springsteen.
check.
It's not that hard.
Thank you. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you, Mr.
Thank you so much for waiting and
Thank you,
staying
sir.
behind. Thank you. Stay here. I like it. That's a beautiful one.
B, standing board agenda items. 13, board calendars.
Mr. Sprinton.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. Today, we actually started our tax exit level testing, and that will go on through the 23rd. We have our monthly principals meeting tomorrow at 2 p.m. On Saturday, we have our all-city choir at the CAB Auditorium. Also on Saturday, if you haven't seen any of our brochures that are listed out on the web that we put across town, is our Walk for the Future. I'd like to encourage anyone to sign up and have that opportunity to see what it is that we're trying to do to reach our neighborhood, some of our dropouts, to see if we can get them interested in getting back in with the school district so that we can find ways to find success with these students. We will be going to different neighborhoods. We have, I'm thinking right now, over 175, is there 175 volunteers right now that we have that are coming out of the community that want to assist us, and we're setting up in teams. We will be going all throughout Brownsville. And we've got addresses, we have Yahoo sites, and so I think each group has got 3, maybe 2, 3, or 4 different little visits, hopefully for just a couple of hours. And we'll be starting at the CAB that morning, having a little breakfast, a little brief presentation and briefing on what we can and what we will do and what our goal is. We will set our teams out from that point on to go reach our community and find ways of trying to talk to our youngsters who have dropped out and trying to get them back into school, whether it's into the high school itself, whether it's BLA, whether there's any type of program that we can get them interested in. We're trying to draw our students who have dropped out back into our schools. We get back, we will have a lunch prepared and just discuss some of the interesting conversations that we've had, and also they give us preliminary data on the number of students that we might have reached, and hopefully that we can reach the majority of these kids, because we all know that The more kids that we have educated, the better our community is. And we're going to use our administration. We're going to use the community. We're using people from outside that are thrilled to death. I've gotten emails from people from different organizations from the city, and they seem to be excited about this event, and I know that we are, and looking very much forward to getting with this. Also, I know that we have a scholastic chess tournament that is being over at Oliveda Middle School. That will be on Saturday also. Region Orchestra auditions will be in Harlingen on the 27th. Our Kids Voting Day is coming up on the 29th. Our actual PEAM snapshot date, believe it or not, is on the 30th, the Friday. And it's our 16th annual binational conference from 8 o'clock to 4 o'clock. And Halloween, don't forget, is on Saturday. And then, believe it or not, we are back into November. It's here. Just like that, like a flash. We are in November. And that should catch us up to date, sir.
Any questions on the calendar, gentlemen? ladies?
Mr. Springston, count on me to be with you to go out and get some of these kids back in school Saturday.
Our time is 8 a.m. at CAB, and we're returning back for debriefing and lunch at 11:30 a.m., and that is also back at CAB. And if you'd like to contact Ms. Pena, just get a hold of her, and we can set you up with a group that may be going out and be a part of what we're doing. Glad to have you. More the better.
Mr. Springston, just want to let you know, I'd love to join you guys, but unfortunately this Saturday I won't be in town. I know I'd talked to you about it in the past, so if you have a follow-up walk on a different day, I'd love to join you guys at that time, but unfortunately I had this previous commitment that's booked back since April, and I can't get out of it, unfortunately.
That's okay. The debriefing that we'll be doing on Saturday afternoon, I'm expecting that there are going to be some kids that and young adults that might come up to us and say, you know, let me think about this. I'm anticipating that, and that would give us an opportunity for a few administrators and a few people who have volunteered to go back out a second time in the afternoon and or evening or between their work shifts, that I might be able to go out and say, okay, you know, let's really consider this. Here are some options for us. And so if we get some information and we get some options, I believe we'll have an opportunity to do that. I'd be glad to do that with you.
Okay. Ms. Petty.
Recommend approving the consent agenda. The board has agreed to discuss the following items. All of the items below that are not called out will be approved by consent.
Mr. Pena, Mr. Saldana, I have a problem with that statement, and number 9 in our regular agenda, it does not state the same thing.
I understand that, and we're making that correction now. We should have brought it, and it was our mistake to not bring it earlier, but this is the language that I believe you indicated that you would like to see in terms of
circling those that we're going to discuss.
That we will discuss, yes.
The reason is I want to make sure that we circle and we're going to discuss them.
Exactly.
Okay. Our colleagues agreed to discuss the following numbers: 19, 20, 21, 22, 24, 25, 28, 30, 31, 36, 37, 43, and 50.
Mr. Aguilar, with all due respect, if we could circle item 49, 49A.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Move to approve.
Second.
Move to approve. Second by Ms. Pena. Those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Okay. Ms. Perez.
Item 19, recommend approval to purchase additional installation, training, consulting services, and custom modification programming from SunGuard Bitech Public Sector in the amount not to exceed approved budgeted local and categorical funds for the 2009-2010 school year. Items and services to be purchased are subject to district needs and funding. Sole source.
Ms. Garcia.
Yes. On this one item, My question is, the BITEC system is constantly down, or we having problems with it. Is this system really working properly for our district? Because I get a lot of emails that the system is down or they're working on it. So I know that the BITEC serves as for your timesheets and for your purchase orders and so forth. Am I correct?
You are correct.
Okay. And it seems to bother me that we're going to approve something that I have questions. If this system continues to fail us, why do we continue with a program that's not functioning properly for our needs?
That's the same question I had with my staff today. We've talked about it before. Some of the suggestions is that we're not familiar with all of the programs that are within SunGuard and the BITEC system. My understanding, Robert, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, is that we've had this system for quite a long time, and we've been implementing different parts of this system. And now what we're trying to do is put into the payroll, and we're looking at the position numbers. We're looking at the coordination between human resources, our insurance department, our financial department, and how everything has to be inputted in different phases. Now then, during my communication with SunGuard and with BITEC and with Robert, we see a lot of emails that are going back and forth, and now that we're including PEEMS, we see the system growing. Since we did away with our last system that did our payroll, BITEC was what was initially to be used to take care of all of those problems. One of the suggestions that we are looking at now is asking the BITEC or SunGuard people if they could come in and stay with us for a while instead of having to do everything by email. Now then, we could just scrap the whole system and look for something else, but then we're starting right back at point zero. Yes, there are some problems, and we are trying to single out those problems and trying to identify them so that we can either correct them or look to see whether or not we need to look at a different operational system.
Okay.
Mr. Science, you're through? I'm sorry.
No. I know that this system was purchased back when Sakowski was here. I know that we've invested a lot of money into it already. And, but, we're talking about, have we seen how much it's going to cost us just to try to bring it up to the needs, that the system won't be going down and failing us? Because there's a failure, and maybe it's the number of not the programs, but like you said, payroll, purchase orders, the insurance. I think that we're trying to put all these different departments into that one software, and was it originally purchased for that, or was it originally purchased just for payroll? Because it seems that they've had problems in different departments that functions with this program. So is the program really worth having? And instead of us having to go back in there and pay for the additional installation, and I'm sure they're going to charge us for the training, I'm sure they're going to be charging us for the consulting services, and to customize and to be able to program the whole software into our system. How much money is, I know we spent at least $1 million or something like that on this one program when we first bought it.
Years ago. I don't know the exact number, but I do not know that number.
I know that was what the number that was being thrown out there. I was not a board member then. I don't know if any of you can remember the existing board members, but I would like to ask my colleagues that before we even approve this, that if we can get those numbers and if we can see all the issues that we're having, so we know, okay, so we're going to pump in another $500,000, but it is going to work. Can SunGuard come in and tell us, yes, if we put this part of in the system, it's going to function faster, properly, without having to have the system go down? Because I know that Ms. Islas manages a lot of that when the system goes up and down. And we at least get messages 3-4 times a week. Oh, the system is down. Oh, system is back up. So, and I, as an employee, I experienced the same thing. It was either through purchasing, or it was either through other requests that I needed from BITEC to check in and see if we had received the merchandise itself at the warehouse. So I know that it was originally purchased for payroll, but now we're using it for all the needs. So you think you can do that for us and send us the information originally? What did it cost us? And also, like you pointed out, yes, you already discussed it with the staff that we're having problems with it, and point out maybe those, and then meet with SunGuard staff and tell them, this emailing back and forth is not working for us. I feel that they just sold us a product and here, deal with it, and just call us over the phone. I don't think that's good service.
Mr. Science?
Yeah, have we looked at this whole system to see if we want to continue with it? And if we wanted to change, like she's talking about, how will we go about it?
Mr. Reese.
Mr. Springston, board members, Mr. Aguilar. No, we are cognizant that we do have problems with it. Problem started last January the 1st when we were forced, when IDI stopped supporting their old system. That was our old vendor, by the way, IDI. And we were forced to go full force with BITEC. No, we still had a lot of problems. We continue to have problems. Unfortunately, without BITEC support, we cannot operate the system. We're caught in a bind right now. We need the support, but yes, we do need to study different avenues. Do we need to have a project manager assigned specifically to us and have them work with us day to day? Do we need somebody down here full time? Just like the insurance does, our health insurance does, and have somebody that's going to be assigned to us. Do we need to continue with this particular software? These are all avenues we need to look at. No, we've talked with Mr. Springston and Ms. Islas and others. But like I mentioned, we do need to support. Unfortunately, it's a sole source item, and they're the only ones that can provide us the help right now. So we need to continue with them until we come up with a solution, though.
We don't have any support.
Mr. Cortez?
Mr. Springston, my only concern is, as I look through the backup, it says not to exceed $150,000, but, again, another item where you guys don't give us the background on what you're going to spend $150,000 on, and then you got a software license agreement in the back, and I only have page 5. I don't even have all the information. Without having looked at what the breakdown is, you guys expect us to make decisions on spending $150,000, but you don't give us all the information. It just
Well, first of all,
doesn't seem like a good way to make a decision.
Mr. Cortez, inside the background itself, all we're looking for right now is to provide initial installation of the original SunGuard system, provide training for our people so that we can have a better understanding of how the system works, use our consulting services by, I don't want to do that by email. I want to be able to call these people and say, bring your system, bring your people to our building and stay, work with our people one-on-one, or each department, bring them together, find out where our problems are, and let's see if we can fix them. Because if we don't, then we're talking about another entire going out and looking for a system that would suit our needs in a district that would be millions of dollars. I didn't use the contract, and I didn't want to put the entire contract that was done back in, you're right, it was 2004. I didn't want to put that entire contract in there because what we were looking for was the installation, the training, the consultant services, and modification programs to see if we can actually get this program to work up to its capabilities. I don't think we've reached its capabilities yet. And that way we would be saving millions if we can actually make it work. If not, then the recommendation would be going to go out and look for something that would fit the needs of our district so that when payroll goes out, when HR comes in with all of their data and their information, insurance comes in with their information, that everything's merged, and that we don't have to do one step at a time. I still believe there's an easier way to do this. And told Mr. Reese today that I think the only way that's going to happen, and I know Ms. Fox and I talked about it too, with human resources, is to get those people here. And according to what I was looking at, our guesstimates and our estimates were, is that $150,000 would actually do that.
You know, and I appreciate you sharing the background on why we only got page 5 of the contract. And, you know, having heard Mr. Reese's comments, I don't think that anybody in this board wants to cripple the administration's capacity to do certain things because we use the BITEC system. Obviously, you've mentioned there are a lot of flaws in the system, Mr. Reese and Mr. Springston. You know, this provides you guys a perfect opportunity to either fix this one, get it working correctly, or come back to this board with a system that will. But still, I get no clarification on what you're going to do with $150,000. And so if I'm hearing you, you mentioned a whole bunch of different things, but generally we get a breakdown, you know, on what those 150 is for. You know, on any given item, when we recommend something, you guys have a breakdown of what your anticipated expenses are for consultant or staff development or any type of training or purchase of additional software, and that's not on this backup, and that's really what I'm kind of alluding to.
So what you need is $20,000 for consultant, $15,000 for training, $10,000 for supplies, $100,000 for software. That's what he's talking about when you need to break out the $150,000.
You feel like tabling this matter until we get the breakdown?
I think we need to table, but before we table this and I make a motion, is sometimes, you know, it's not the software. It's the people. They do not know how to use it. And this is where the training comes in, you see. And we can talk about that this system does not work, costs a lot of money. And there are good, effective programs, is that we have never trained our people how to use a computer. And you'll be surprised how many people in this building itself and across the district, or some of our people are not really good computer literate in doing some of the things.
Mr. Aguilar? If we don't, this is Mr. Springston, if we don't approve this tonight, would we cripple ourselves?
Yes, we will. In fact, I can even give you some more information. Mr. Fuller, if you'll step up, you can. I know you've been working in this area with BITEC and the different organizations.
Thank you, Mr. Springston, Mr. Aguilar, board members. Yes, like Mr. Reese did state, we do have some flaws in the software. We're working with them. But if you table this item, yes, you will kind of hinder our progress forward. So I really, truly don't recommend that avenue. We are very cognizant of the fact, BITEC is very cognizant of the fact that there are problems here in Brownsville ISD. They know we have problems, and they're working with us. More and more of their program staff are getting involved. Right now, we have, out of 16 modules, we have 10 already in place. We still have 6 more to go. So back when we purchased back in 2004, it was about $800,000, and that is total software, hardware, and installation. The last 4 years, we've spent just shy of around $500,000 for installation, conversion, and training and upgrades. So that's a full 4-year period. So average year about $75,000 a year.
So we could get a detailed report and sent to us at a later date
Yes.
at our request, so we can satisfy what exactly is being used. But I don't want to do something that's going to cripple the function of this district, because then we defeat our purpose in trying to assist and move you forward.
Again, I don't recognize that now. If the avenue is decided to go for a new procurement of a software, well, we got to go through the whole RFP process. But right now, this is what we have. And to not have support from BITEC at this point in time, if something goes wrong, they're going to say, we don't have a contract in place, and they may just back off. So we will be in.
Excuse me, what do you mean by I don't recognize that? Do you mean you don't recommend that?
Recommend.
I heard you say
tabling?
recognize right now.
No,
Okay,
I don't
then-
recommend tabling this item, please.
Okay, I misunderstood, thank you.
Mr. Cortez?
Mr. Fuller, you numbers guys don't just throw numbers out. I mean, can you give us an idea how you came to this $150,000?
Basically, right now, you're going to see item number 28, I believe it is. There's
The
about
non-compliance?
right. There's about $40,000 right there in itself.
That's
So
part
you
of
need-
this 150?
Yes.
Okay, so
And then-
28 and 19 are hand-in-hand items?
Yes.
Okay.
So that 150 already is down to about 110. So 110, we believe, will take us through this year for sure, and then possibly into next year. Again, we're going to make it an annual item in the month of July to come to the board if we continue with this software.
My only suggestion would be, Mr. Aguilar, Mr. Springston, in the future, I mean, you guys bring us an item like this.
Is there a
You
way
know,
that we could do a
regardless
breakdown of that 150? Because I know that we do a lot of travel back and forth, and there's a lot of stuff.
What we can do is we'll, just with the historical costs that we've already incurred, we can kind of get a prorated share, how much was travel, how much was installation, how much was conversion, and maybe, you know, we can possibly get it, some sort of breakdown.
No, it just seems to be a pattern. I think for months now I asked for all the backup. I mean, for whatever reason you felt, or administration felt, only page 5 was needed in our backup, but, you know, I think that's a decision that we should make. We should be able to look at the entire contract if you're asking us to approve an item for $150,000. You know, y'all shouldn't leave information out like this. I know I've brought this issue up several times on different budget amendment and type items like that. You know, last thing we want to do is harm what you guys do by not approving an item, but I just will ask if you guys could send us the breakdown in our Friday newsletter, just so that we can have it.
It would have been it'll be a guesstimation on this. You know, I don't want to send you a number and say that's the strict number. We can give guesstimations according to what has happened in the past.
Right.
If I
That
may
might
add
help.
something,
It gives
sir.
us a good start. to
Ms.
know
Peña,
what
and then
we're-
Ms.
what we're approving.
Garcia.
I
Then
think,
we need to move on. Ms.
well,
Peña.
I was gonna make a motion, but I think Ms. Garcia has a
All
question.
right. Ms. Garcia.
You see, and then now I have a problem. We're approving here, but then again, we're in non-compliance over here, like the Tango issue. Why is it that we keep putting this board in a bind where here we are recommending, we're gonna recommend the 150, and then at the same time, we've already got an invoice for something that hadn't even been approved through the board. I asked this administration not to continue with this type of making decisions without bringing anything to the board. First of all, it bothers me because I know how much we've invested in the software. We should have asked how many other districts have this software and that it's been working properly. But right here, you're placing me as a board member to approve $150,000. But then over here, you're telling me on item number 28, because we're in non-compliance, board policy, CH local. So right now, we're gonna approve the item for 150, or else we're gonna put ourselves in a situation that item number 28, which I had already circled to question, without appeal. Without appeal, gentlemen, because it cannot have appeal if we did not approve 150,000. This is not the first time it happens, you know, and it bothers me. I don't know how Ms. Peña feels about it, but it puts us board members in a bind.
It bothers me also, ma'am.
Oh, I'm sure it does, sir, because we're approving something that's over the bid policy and procedures.
Okay, and I agree, it bothers me, but apparently, I guess the whole point of it is that in the past, we've pretty much crucified people who paid for something after it was already purchased. And as time and again, I said, this is a practice that sneaks up on us every once in a while. And I guess it'll sneak up on us as long as we're here on earth because things happen because you're only human. So I understand where Ms. Prestes is coming from. It bothers me. But once we owe something, we're obligated to take care of what we owe. So I'd like to move at this point to approve 19 and 28.
I'll second that.
We move to approve number 1928, being seconded by Mr. Cortez. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
Nay.
Okay. Ms. Perez.
Again,
Item 20.
you don't have to.
Review and discuss possible action to ask administration to allow Palmer Drug Abuse Program to present and ask BISD employees if they are willing to contribute to the PDAP organization through a payroll deduction. It will help service our community and students who struggle with drug abuse. It would serve as an intervention prevention. Board member request.
Garcia.
Yes, I'd leave this to administration. I believe he had discussed or had a meeting, so this item would be so administration could give his recommendation to this board and see what, I was not in that meeting, I did not attend, so I will leave this up to administration.
Thank you, Mr. President. I did have an opportunity to meet with people from PDAP and discuss some of the reasons why, you know, we felt that it was a difficult challenge for us because we knew that y'all had been receiving funds from another organization, and asked why those funds were no longer coming. We heard some of those reasons tonight. Also in our discussions, we were talking about that there was no other source to send our kids to. Learning that there is now, from what I'm hearing from United Way. And I'm also hearing from United Way also at the same time that they're offering some type of assistance with y'all, in organizational assistance. Am I correct?
One thing I'd like to comment is that I don't see on the agenda where we're actually here to discuss United Way or where that has anything to do with Palmer drug abuse. So it's kind of frustrating for me to already see that before we even bring this before the board or before the board is even able to discuss, you already have kind of a set agenda having to do with United Way. This, on the agenda here, it's talking about Palmer drug abuse, not United Way. So,
Nothing set here. I'm
no,
just
I
having
know,
a conversation with you.
And you know, I love to hear, I hear Mr. Zayas, I hear Ms. Garcia, the doctor here, talking about how we don't want this to be political, how we want these things to be about our children. And I stand up here, and everything I'm seeing is political.
Everything.
I do not really feel that we had a very functional or helpful meeting. When I walked into the meeting, what you all had decided was already decided before we walked in. I know that we have members here on the board who feel strongly about our children. If not, you guys wouldn't be going through this endurance match that you all go through so often. And I would ask that we do this right, that we do this correctly for our children, that we stop this political heresy. Please, Mr. Springton.
Mr. Springton, thank you, sir. The questions to you, sir, was to give us a report, and that's what I want to listen. And so, what is it that we go from here?
We have two options. Our first option is to continue and with no PDAP, the money that they were getting their funding from, and or looking at the possibility down the road of doing some type of consultant contracting, that they would work up a contract with us about services that they would be able to give us in our schools, and the type of teaching and or going right out to our schools and doing some type of teaching to our schools. You know, I look at that and I don't ever mind making the decisions and making recommendations to this board, but at the same time, the reason why we do one fundraiser with United Way is because they actually go out and they do those type of looking at the different organizations that they give monies to anyway. I think that we would be opening our doors to many other organizations of coming in and saying, you know, what can you do for us? I'm willing to work something out with this group if we could look at some type of services and what they would like to offer us. But that's something that would have to come from them, and that was something that would have to come down the road. And maybe that's something that we can look at. But right now, our number one fundraiser that we do in this district, and we've been doing how many years, Drew?
At least 17.
About 17 years, and that distribution has worked well with what we've done, because we don't allow others to come in, because we do this strictly, this one that does the distribution of funds for us. And so I won't mention the name since we're not talking about them.
Do you not find it a little bit funny that for 17
Sir,
years...
are you out of order, sir?
Forgive me.
So, actually, what you're asking the board, one thing, is that you would not like for us to be approving a system where anyone can come and collect as for payroll deductions. That's correct. Okay. And I can see that. Now, and this is not political, there's concern as to why there's a question here between PDAP. And I'm very familiar with the program, sir. And I've said it really bothers me and saddens me to find this organization, for whatever reason, is in the shape that it is today.
Money.
And I'm not pointing finger to anyone. However, if we're going to have some kind of dialogue, see, the point is that they cannot do any intervention because they don't have the staff, the license, whatever it is.
No, we do have the license.
Oh, you want to have one. See, but there's another item here that can come, and we call prevention. And prevention goes a long way, going to the classroom, training counselors, training the dangers of drugs. All these things can be done through a area we call prevention. Now, what we were asking really when I asked you to look into this is to see how can we come into understanding, not funding, but understanding, perhaps through a member of understanding. And it's a two-way street, you see. We have money, but it's not ours. In order for us to be serving anyone, we need to see that the money is well spent and is accountable, and we are accountable. And that's the bottom line. That's nothing to do with politics, sir. It has to do that we have some kind of accountability where we place the money.
May I say?
So, well, ma'am, please. Any other members here on the board? Any questions?
Mr. Aguilar, I think this is for Mr. Springsteen. If I may, this program helps our community and our children, and I'm wholeheartedly will back anyone who will help any child, because that's the only reason you're put here on earth, to help the ones that are coming behind you, make sure they make it. And I would be, if I'd say, well, I don't believe in this, then I wouldn't believe in children. And I do believe in children, and some kids just need some help, and I believe in your program.
Ms. Peña.
So what I want to know is how can we do it so where we can get assistance without having to maybe tie in and not worry about. Otherwise, if you look at it, everybody would want to come in and say, well, can you deduct for this? Can you deduct for that? And we have to be fair to everyone. Otherwise, we're going to drive our payroll crazy and our employees on a guilt trip, because how come you give to this but you don't give to that? So what can we do?
Well, this is why the superintendent has to meet with the organization, because this is item for us to discuss among board members.
Mhm.
That is why I asked the gentleman that he was out of order. Now, what is the direction we're going to give our superintendent to look into it? Ms. Cortez.
You know, when we discussed this at the last meeting, I noticed that this is an item brought by Ms. Garcia, but at the last meeting, I had asked for administration to bring a presentation on what the district was doing now with kids on substance abuse problems, or like Mr. Aguilar mentioned, prevention, responses for prevention. That's not here. I mean, I hear you saying that for 17 years we've done something with United Way. That's all fine and good, but at the last meeting I asked for administration to bring it this time around, and for some reason it's in this format, which is fine. You know, Ms. Garcia brought it up, but I would still like to know if somebody in the audience or you can give us an idea of what we're doing right now and who is helping us with this. I know that during public comment, one of the ladies came up and said that, you know, she's already referred to this new program. But 2 out of thousands of kids that we have, how many children are being serviced for substance abuse issues? How many are we looking at for preventive, you know? None of that information has been given to me. I mean, and I think that would help me make a decision on where I want to go with respect to PDAP or the United Way program that's going to be opening up. But I don't know if you have any of that information, Mr. Springsteen, you can share with us, or anybody in your staff.
And yes, I'll make some general comments to that. We did look, and I did look by calling in different organizations to find out who actually works with our kids, because I do, and I did not have a preset agenda, sir. That I know when you came in to visit with me, I may be hard to convince the first time, but we may be able to open the doors the second or the third time. I'm not easy. But I will say this, that we did call JJAEP. They do not have an opportunity to work with kids with substance abuse. I do know that. I do know that there is another organization out there, if I'm not, is it SCAN, that has an opportunity to work with those kids, and I received some information after I had gotten the board agenda items in, and I know Ms. Black has also been working with those kids that we have at BAC, and she does that now. And the other organization that we have is we do have our Go Centers, where Judge Neese actually has people that he sends to us. I know they also send y'all there too. We have one located at Central. The other one is at Cab and Bella. And we have people that are there, our own counselors, that are working with these kids at the moment, and you'll see part of that coming up in some of the agendas. I think it's a consent, but it's also some memorandums of understanding for that.
May I say something? Okay, all we really are asking right now is for this board to just follow policy. You have a policy in place that says that people can give to whoever they want and choose. And I work with your counselors. I work with your teachers. I have worked 2 years with JJAEP. And I have been part of the task force for the judge, Ben Neese. I am getting referred from the judge as we speak. Alternative fine payment programs to do 40 hours in counseling. I was supposed to do, part of this would be the tobacco awareness program, which I got certified. I was supposed to do 15 hours for the Texas drug offender class, 12 steps, community service, substance abuse evaluations, family counseling. I just passed, for those that don't know, to get my LPC, and I am LCDC-CI, counseling intern. So, and I have been an educator for over 22 years at least. I have had TRIO, Upper Bounds, all kinds of grants under my leadership. It is so unfortunate that PDAP we're in shambles, and the reason for that is because we don't have staff. Directors move because they don't have staffs. I have to be an instructor. I have to also advise. I have to do crisis intervention. I have to teach. I have to do presentations in the school. I have to do everything for PDAP. And I'm not even getting paid anymore. It's been like 3 months, okay? I do it because I have 3 grandsons in your school, and I am an educator at heart. And all I'm asking is for you to follow policy. This is not about United Way. It is about all the students that I have. I have at least 45 kids right now, and I cannot even see them all. I'm having Benny's ask me, when are your classes are going to be? And as far as accountability, I am Miss Accountability. If you looked at my resume, you saw that I have been in higher ed.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Okay?
Anyone else?
I guess the whole idea is, does the district want to open the window to a whole bunch of organizations coming and asking for the same thing that they're asking for?
That's right.
There's a lot of organizations that do a lot of good stuff for children. I would guess, what is your recommendation, Mr. Springs?
We don't open it up. That I work with these people in a different way, but we don't open it up for every organization.
But you can try to work with them in a different way?
Yes.
Excuse me, are you done, Mr. Zayas?
Yes.
Okay, so your recommendation, I heard that maybe they can do like contracted services with us, that would be one that you would consider?
Yes.
Or what is it that
Well,
what-
we had discussed that. I mean, they said something about being able to go into our schools to do preventive stuff and being able to work with our kids or our teachers. You discussed that in our meeting, and then we talked about that being a possible way of being able to earn some funds. But tell me if I'm wrong, but I thought that's what we were talking about.
I need people at PDAP for them to see the kids that are being sent by the judge, from the chief of police, from Tommy Ramirez. I mean, I need those people. That's what I'm asking for. Sure, I can do your presentations, but that is the icing on this cake. because we need help with personnel. That's why PDAP has been going flip-flopping. All we want is consistency for our children of this community. If we can partner with BISD, our mission is to work with young adults. Young adults. I would like to see us open 6 days a week and working with your children and your parents, the families, and for us to be able to educate your teachers and your counselors. We can't do that. I'm it right now. And what I am saying, I need help, or else I need to send letters to Nelson and all the judges and let them know, since they came to me and visit me, and I said, we're going to have a prevention team. It is going to be 100 individuals and hopefully 30 every 3 months that will go through curriculums.
Ms. Peña.
Mr. Aguilar, I would really ask that we look into this program because we need to help these children. And this is something that you don't charge to help them. That's why it's so difficult. Everything else they charge for.
It's
so
free.
I know you will work your hardest to find some way to work because we need to keep Palmer Drug Abuse Program alive. We need to keep it afloat.
See, the item is not that we don't want to work with PDAP. What Mr. Friedman is saying, that he cannot open payroll deduction to everyone that comes to the district, and that is what this item is all about, you see.
But
He
there's-
never, excuse me, ma'am. We're not saying that we're not going to help, because in the previous year, we had a memorandum of understanding with them. There was an agreement. Of course, we're going to go back, I don't know how many years, maybe 20 years. Lynn Black helped me. About 20 years ago, at least. So it has happened in this. Somewhere along the line, they dropped it, or whoever did anyway. See, but it doesn't. We didn't open the doors for payroll deduction. It was understanding between the administration and the organization, and that's what he's talking about. You see, but the item here says that let the payroll. Now, if people want to donate, we don't hold it against them. They can donate all they want to. You see, and that's our policy. Whoever, we cannot tell you where to spend your money or who to give it to. It's the method that he's saying we cannot have a payroll deduction for everyone that comes to our board. So okay, so we have this item here, so we can either table it and let the, excuse me, ma'am, and direct the administration to sit down again and talk and bring us a recommendation. This, in my opinion, is what Mr. Friedman is talking about. He does not like to open for payroll deduction. That's what it is. Very simple.
Mr. Aguilar, I'd like to see that happen where we can get somewhere where you can get something into the school districts where teachers and people who care, and there's so many, we have so many in our district, can easily make the donation to you without having to come to payroll, where you can work something out where, you know, I mean, sit down and talk and just brainstorm till we can come up with something. Because I agree that if you open it for you, we're going to open it for everybody else. And the last thing you want is people fighting for a chance to get into our payroll deduction. And then people say, well, you know what? I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to donate anymore. And it becomes a problem. It becomes a payroll nightmare. Before you know it, they'll come back and say, we sent it to you by error. You'll have to send it back. Because things have happened like that with other companies and other entities. So if you could really sit down with them to help establish a manner where we can help you with donations from teachers without going through payroll.
Well, Mr. Cortez.
The only thing I want to add to what's already been said is along the lines of your comment, Mr. Springston, maybe having them come in and do, I guess, mentoring for prevention to some of the counselors. You know, something like that, I think, I mean, we need to go out for some type of bidding process. I don't think we can just arbitrarily say, you know, we're going to use Palmer Drug Abuse Program to come in and visit the students and offer prevention programs and that sort of thing. I think if that was the route you were looking at, we'd have to go out for proposals and, you know, find not only, you know, best qualified but best value for the district. So I mean, if that's the route that you're thinking of taking, I don't think that it's something where we can just as a district, go out and say, well, we're going to use Palmer drug abuse for something like that. And I know that you commented about that a minute ago. So.
Let me suggest, Mr. Cortez, that the district can go into some kind of understanding with any agency, just like we do with the museums, not only with both museums, but also with the zoo, the Confederate Air Force, where we donate certain monies. In return, there's an understanding what we get for our monies, whether at the zoo, whether it's free tickets. So we don't really have to go for our proposals. It's an understanding. See, that's what I had instructed Mr. Springton last time when I made the suggestion. Sit down with them and to see what you can come out with them so we can help them. You see, that was a statement. And I think Dr. Almeida was now here it comes a board agenda saying using payroll deduction. See, that is the conflict right here, Mr. Cortez, that Mr. Springton is talking about. He never said we were not going to help. We said, I don't want to do this payroll deduction because we open the doors to every single one. That's the whole thing issue, Mr. Cortez. So what are we going to do with this item, Ms. Garcia?
Where it says the administration, to allow the administration to, what is the administration's recommendation here? What is administration's recommendation? What do you recommend? I know there's policies and there's procedures. What is your recommendation? I was not at the meeting. I did not attend the meeting because Mr. President has always said it's what the recommendation of administration. So where are we at?
The way this, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Saldana, not to get into the bits and pieces here, review and discuss possible action. Does that, I don't see where we can even take any action with this agenda item. But
we could table.
But we can table. And my recommendation is that we do not go through payroll deduction.
Do I have a motion?
There's no action needed.
No action? All right.
Can we find another means, some way or another?
Are we correct, Mr. Saldana?
You have just about every option on the table on this matter. You can take no action on it. You can vote to approve the recommendation of the administration. You can vote to turn down the administration's recommendation. You have every option out there that's possible.
Well, I'm going to ask if there's a motion to approve this agenda.
To approve it?
Yes.
Well,
if there's no action, there's no second, it dies, wouldn't it?
Assuming that the recommendation of the administration is not to recommend payroll deductions.
Okay.
And if I understand Mr. Springston correctly, that is the motion, that is the recommendation of the administration. So if they would vote to approve, that would be voting to uphold the recommendation not to allow payroll deductions. Or you could simply take no action and that dies, that it has the same procedural effect.
Yes.
I think what you're trying to say, Mr. Aguilar, is to have a motion as it's written in the agenda item, right? I think we can proceed that way. That'd be okay. Just call for that.
Oh, do I hear a motion?
Do I hear a motion? Do I hear a motion? Dies. Mrs. And I would instruct Mr. Springton to get together again. And I think there was enough discussion tonight that perhaps you can come out with a recommendation at a later date. Ms. Perez? Ms. Perez?
Item 21, review, discuss, take possible action, and approve for BISD board members to dedicate their time and mentor minimum of 3 students, no more than 5 students during their term as board members to help students during their school years and work closely with campus staff to help the students who need mentoring and guidance. Students to mentor will be from all levels, elementary, middle school, and high school, district-wide, include BLA, BAC, and Lincoln Park. A vision and mission for success. All students matter, and in our district, everyone can learn. Board member request.
Ms. Garcia.
Yes. I had discussed this one item with Mr. Springston, and the reason is because back in January of this year, I received a couple of letters from some students, and these students were at BAC. I had the opportunity to meet the students that they did not know even who the letter was sent to. But let me read you one of the the letters. It says, "Dear School Board Member, thank you for dedicating your time and effort to the students of BISD. I am grateful for my teacher and the good professional development seminars. I am also thankful for the sports programs because they teach us how to be healthy and how to have a good sportsmanship. I really appreciate that you take the time to meet each month. God will reward you for all the things that you give us. Again, thank you for your time and dedication to our district. Your efforts are appreciated by the students in BISD." I gave you the copies of the letters. I took the time to meet these students, and they were pretty shocked to know that the person that they had mailed the letter to had gone to meet them. And I know that when we tend to run for a school board, for the positions that we've run for before in the past, I know that a lot of times we have a vision, we believe in our students, we do want to get involved, and I think the most of all, it's the challenge of the dedication that we have to put in for 4 years or 2 years. And I know that we believe in the potential of all our students and that we must believe in cultivating the talent and drive our students through involvement programs and opportunities. If we believe that by challenging our students with high expectations and rigorous curriculum, they will excel as it is our duty to believe in never giving up on any single student. Our vision is success for all students, and we should do whatever it takes to achieve that vision for every student in our district. When we dedicated ourselves to run for this position, we knew that it was all about education. So if we can all just at least dedicate ourselves to mentor at least minimum 3 students. I know that I've been keeping up with the students, and I know that they've been attending school, and I know that they're doing well. All we can do is just at least mentor 3 students minimum, and we'd make a difference in some of those students' lives. It can be from the elementary level to middle school to high school. I know that I've even gotten to meet some of the parents, and from these 2 students. They're high school students, and I've spoken to the parents, and they appreciate the fact that I had gone out of my way to go and meet their children at school. And I don't think this is a lot of work for us to invest or dedicate to the students, but I know that there's many students out there that all they need is just a pat in the back and someone to talk to them and let them know that they can succeed and they can excel. So I ask this board to please consider that we mentor at least minimum 3 students. I know that I'm willing to do that. I've gone to Lincoln Park. I know that some of these students, they're struggling for whatever reason at their home. I had the experience of getting this pen from one of the students from Lincoln Park, and if I'm not mistaken, Ms. Peña also received a pen. This is a pen that was made by one of our students at Lincoln Park. He's got great talent, and I think that if we can just continue to dedicate our time to some of those students, we'll do well. And I don't think that by picking up the phone and getting to meet some of these students and asking them how they're doing, I don't think that's going to hurt us at all. But I challenge some of my board members or my board members here, like I told Mr. Springs, and I think that that would be something good for us to show the community that we really mean that we're all about students and we're all about education. I know that I already have at least 2, and I'm willing to mentor 5 students myself. I will check and see if they're in school. I will make sure that they're not truants. I will make sure that they are succeeding, and if they need tutorial, I will make sure that I can guide them. I myself am willing to do this. I know that there doesn't need to be a policy. This is just some time that we would dedicate out of our own will to prove ourselves that we're here for education and for our students.
What's this?
Ms. Perez, I'm glad that you placed an agenda item like this for discussion tonight. But, I think most of us at one point or another, or even now, already do stuff like this. So it's good that you're getting active with some of the students. I know that since I've been on the board, I've been a care partner at Ortiz, and every 6 weeks we visit with our adopted class, and we're there for a couple of hours with them in the afternoon. Every year during National Children's Book Week, most of the board goes out and reads to the different campuses, and we interact with the students. And so I think this is a positive agenda item. I think at some point, most of us are already doing this. I know Mr. Aguilar and I, every year, throughout the year, we visit as many schools as we can. We walk into the classrooms. We sit and visit with some of the students and the faculties. And you're right, they appreciate when you're there. They appreciate the interaction that we have with them. And, but to commit to 3, or 5, when we're already interacting with, 20 or 30, sometimes more throughout the school year, I'm not sure would be the best approach. I think just to encourage the ones that haven't gone out recently to go out there and get more involved, I think would be a good way to go. But, while we were just that, and Ms. Peña is there with us now. She joined the care group this year. And
Dr. Escobedo also.
Dr. Escobedo has been there in the past, though.
Oh, really? I haven't seen him, but
Well,
okay.
Mr. President, you know what, Mr. Cortez, you're deviating from it. Because you would make a difference, because you are going to make sure that that student follows you through. And that's year after year. You will get to know that student on a one-to-one basis. I'm not talking about going to read and going to sit in a class and tell the students, hello, how are you doing? I'm here, I'm Mr. Vice President. That's not the case here, Mr. Cortez. Anybody can do that. I can sit down and go in and read to first graders, second graders, elementary, any group. Here, the agenda, the whole agenda is I challenge you to be part of what the educators go through and make sure that you can save a life. Because a lot of those students you really don't know until you start talking to them and sharing what they go through. That's the difference, Mr. Cortez. Anybody can go and read to any student, or anybody can go and hold a kindergarten's hand and say, let's go jump and do 25 jumping jacks. The challenge here is, are you going to be able to see that student that's in our system that's getting ready to fall in the crack of the system, and that you really need to salvage that student before he falls and becomes a dropout? That's my challenge to each and every one of you. I was touched by these 2 males, and last year they were 8th graders. Now they're freshmen. And you know what? It bothered me that I didn't get to them on time, but at least I came back and I knew that I had to make that extra effort to go out there and meet these 2 young men to see what was it that they were really feeling when they were at back. And I got to know what they were going through.
Okay.
So this is why not even take the challenge? If we're here about education and we're here for the students, this is where we prove ourselves. Just think about how many lives you could save like that you get to know the student. I don't know how you feel about it, Ms. Peña. What do you think?
Let me tell you, ma'am. I like the, excuse me, ma'am. I like the challenge, but the thing is that it's up to each individual to see what's worth and what he wants to do in promoting education, promoting motivation, stuff like that. To tell someone you will have to do 3, I think it's out of line.
I know that the intents are good, and what she's saying makes a lot of sense. In fact, I haven't even heard, I used to see it on TV all the time. It was called Big Brother, Big Sister program. And you would actually have children come out on TV and ask to look for a big brother, big sister, meaning somebody older. Well, maybe in the district with Mr. Springsteen, we could start some kind of program where we have leaders and business people in the community. Of course, everybody would have to go through a criminal background check before you could be any kind of mentor. Where we could look at maybe starting a program like this, and it would make a difference in some children's lives.
Ms. Peña, the past 3 years I've been asking this as a mentoring system, because I've even mentioned it's on tape also, that there's even state money to establish a mentoring system in the school district. The state provides money. Mr. Cortez been here, Mr. Colon has been here before, Mr. Escobedo, in day out, I keep on telling him, it has never happened. And not just to go out there in the classroom. Ms. Peña just hit one item that's very important when you establish a mentoring system, and it's a criminal background. And then there's other guidelines that goes in. It's not just so easy, I'm going to go and be a mentor. Besides the criminal, you need to select time, the objectives, parent
permission,
with those waivers, things like that. What are the topics, what are the do's and don'ts? And if you really want to look at it, if you go to the TEA web page and look at special programs or exemplary programs and look at mentoring systems, they can give you all kinds of mentoring systems that you have there that we can download and look at it. But I agree with you, Ms. Peña. But that should be up to the administration to set up a mentoring system throughout the school district. At one time, we had that type of system with the Chamber of Commerce. Of course, that was years ago. That they would come and read, and it would sponsor a child throughout the whole year. Somehow, we don't have it anymore. We had that reading program host, where we had mentoring system. The one with each one had a student had a mentor. You see, so it's something that we can do again, revisit, and perhaps Mrs. Garcia's intention is correct. That perhaps now have another partner say that Ms. Peña said we need to look at a mentoring system. And look for funds. You have a grant writer,
No.
and they can set up some guidelines and establish throughout the schools. There's no reason we cannot have it.
Mr. Aguilar, and then that's maybe something that Mr. Springsteen can look at, because I remember host. In fact, Joe Cadriel was my son's host teacher. My son didn't need to go to host. My son was in 3rd grade reading at 8th grade level, thanks to Joe. But he didn't want to leave because he really liked the fact that he had somebody else that he was reading to. So these kind of programs make a difference in any child's life, no matter where they are in society, where they are academically, or where they are physically. So we could look into this, Mr. Springsteen, to establish something like this, especially in today's time. I think that would be excellent to kind of bring it back up again with the help of your administration and make a difference in the lives of these children and allow community members to come in and maybe talk to them for an hour or meet with them, or of course go through all the proper protocol.
Yeah. Okay.
And perhaps when we have a curriculum committee, we'll have a preliminary report for the curriculum committee. Mr. Cortez?
And perhaps one of the models you can look at is kind of like what Ortiz Elementary does, that care partner program, but scale it down to where your interaction is limited to a fewer number of kids as opposed to an entire class. I mean, even though you sit with a class for an hour and a half to 2 hours, perhaps scale that down to just a couple of 2 or 3 kids, so you can get a greater one-on-one interaction as opposed to sitting with a class for 2 hours. They'll sit with 2 or 3 students for a couple of hours.
Most mentoring systems are one-to-one relationships.
That's what they are, one-to-one basis.
I would recommend that we just take no action on this and let the administration.
Look into it, Mr. Springsteen, please, because I think we're all about children, all about education. We come across like, oh, we really believe in this. I think that we need to start stepping up to the plate and start challenging ourselves also as well, so we can understand a little bit more what teachers go out, what they go out there, what they do to deal on a day-to-day basis. I mean, I just wanted to see how many really mentors would come out of this group, to tell you the truth. I know that some of us wouldn't have that much energy, but I know that some of us are willing to take the challenge. I mean, why not?
Ms. Presas, we knew what your intentions were from the very beginning when I read this, so don't tell me this.
No, and let me tell you, Mr. Aguilar, it's not about a bid, because or else we would have already been jumping on it. We're very good at bids.
There's no action on this one.
Item 22, discussion, consideration, and possible action to cancel board meeting of November 3rd, 2009 due to Washington Blue Ribbon presentation for Southmost Elementary. Board member request.
Ms. Peña, I think it was you.
Yes, as we all know, Southmost Elementary got a Blue Ribbon Award, which is a once-in-a-lifetime award that we're very proud of, because we've never gotten it here. And they will be presented in Washington. And I know that the school had requested for some of us to attend that with them, because they would feel honored that we have more than just a few people go with them to receive that award and to be out in the audience, cheering them on for such a wonderful accomplishment. So I'd like to make a motion that we cancel the November 3rd board meeting, so we would be able to attend the Blue Ribbon ceremony presentation in Washington with Southmost Elementary.
Do I have a second? Do I have a second?
Is this something that, I guess I have a question. I don't know, I guess I misunderstood. I thought I thought the administration wanted us to go. You said the school
Well,
extended an invitation?
Yes, and administration, I know Mr. Springsteen was interested in going also. So,
What do you want to do, Mr. Springsteen? What's your recommendation? You want us to go? What do you want to do?
I would like to see how many would like to go. I think this is an honor and a privilege. We've got, Ms. Monfiles, correct me if I'm wrong, and we did that talk. I mean, I know Ms. Garcia and Ms. Pena, we did the celebration, but we were talking about this Blue Ribbon School being the first of its kind.
Mhm.
And very hard to get that Blue Ribbon status.
once in a
And
lifetime.
Once, you know, it's just hard to get. And I noticed that when we were there was a lot of teachers that were going, "Are you going? We want you there. We would like for you to be there." And they were talking to me about, "We want you there." And I know that we had some board meetings that were coming up at that time period, and then I knew that there would have been some requests made by a couple of board members who may want to attend. And so Ms. Pena brought this to the board because there may be 4 that may want to attend, and if that's the case, we wouldn't have a quorum for a board meeting, so it was put on the agenda item in that fashion.
Any seconds?
I'll second it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Saiz.
Thank you.
We move to cancel the,
All those in favor?
hold on, ma'am. He's the president.
Just kidding, I'm sorry. I guess it's going to be 11 o'clock and I'm trying to rush. I sincerely apologize.
To cancel the November 3 meeting. Second by Mr. Saiz. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, 1 nay. Ms. Perez. Oh, by the way, how many are planning to go?
I don't know. I'm planning to go. Are you planning to go, Mr. Aguilar?
Well, we've been talking with
I'd like to think
Monfiles
about
and Jimmy.
How about you,
I'm
Mr.
like-
Cortez?
Maybe you should go, Mr. Aguilar. That used to be your campus, wasn't it? When it was, there a little stage there where the ratings were a little low?
No, ma'am. Let me correct you. When I left that school, they were in the 80s. And then something happened after when I went to state comp and the scores went down. It's on record.
Yeah, I did that background. That's why I commend
It went
Mr.
down,
Hayes.
and that's just why now it's going up. So when you reach a peak, when they're up here and then they bring it down,
Percentage.
and then they start, this administration start bringing it up, that's where they got it, you know. But when I left that school, they were in the 80s. We missed by being a recognized school by 1 student. And Mr. Gutierrez told me, "Sir, if you had moved this young girl to take the Spanish test rather than English, we would have been a recognized schools." And I said, I would never jeopardize the learning of a child just to be a recognized school. So I think that's what it is, Mrs. Presas.
I know that
Thank
Ms.
you very
Mejia
much.
was also there, if I'm not mistaken. I did the research on principalship.
All right, shall we go on?
Yes, please.
Item 24, recommend that the board approve payment of $14,785.85 to the law firm of Adams and Graham.
That would be.
Myself, number
Garcia, yes.
24.
Yes, 24 and 25 years.
What, for what law firm is representing what? What case?
Mr. Saldana?
This is the law firm that is representing the school district in the case involving Hector Gonzalez and Arturo Rendon.
That's the case that's in federal court?
No, ma'am.
Then
State
which
court.
case is this? Is it at state level? What level is this in?
The state court.
The Art Rendon is in state still?
Yes, ma'am.
So these 2 billings are for services that they've already rendered in the past?
Yes, ma'am, these are under our deductible. There may be some billings from another case as well, and that is the Juarez case.
But the Juarez case is in federal court, if I'm not mistaken, is it?
That's correct.
Okay. It's good to let the community know where we're at with all these legal fees.
Mr. Saldana.
Cortez?
Give me go back up to the page here.
But-
On the background, for the first item, for 24, it says the civil action, it says in parentheses, the Juarez. You said it was Rendon and Gonzalez. This one shows,
Juarez and
on
I believe the 14,000 is the Juarez, the 22,000 is the Rendon.
Rendon case and Gonzalez.
That's correct.
oh, I see.
The Rendon and Gonzalez are under one cause of action, one cause number.
Which is item 25? Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? Do I have
Move
a
to
motion?
approve 24 and 25.
Move to approve 24 and 25. Do I have a
I'll second it.
In second, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? 26, Garcia, I'm sorry, Perez.
28.
30 approved, 28.
I'm sorry, 30.
Approved it.
30.
We approved 28.
Yes, sir. 30.
That was appeal without an invoice without appeal.
Item 30, recommend approval of budget amendment 061 in the amount of $1,416,648 for Fund 255 ESEA Title II Part 8 Teacher and Principal Training Recruiting Fund, additional funding.
This is also Garcia's.
No, I didn't ask that for that one.
You did, and then I even said
Nope.
Mr. Sayers probably asked on that one. But if not, do I have a motion?
Wait.
Additional funding, explain that part to me right there.
Okay.
I mean, we're putting in more money, or we're receiving more money to
We're
offer
receiving
to the
more
program?
We are receiving more money.
Okay. I move to approve.
Second.
Been approved. And second,
Aye.
those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 31.
Item 31, recommend approval of the clinical affiliation agreement between Brownsville Doctors Hospital and Brownsville ISDs to provide high school health science technology students with clinical learning experiences for the 2009-2010, 2010-2011, and 2011-2012 school years. Services to be rendered subject to the district needs and funding.
Superintendent, can you explain that to us?
Ms. Monfils?
Mr. President, Mr. Springston, members of the board, actually, this is an agreement that we wish to enter into, much as we do with the one that we have with Valley Baptist Medical Center. Health science students actually go and participate in clinical rotations. Of course, they're very closely supervised, but it's just a part of their health science technology program.
Just expanding their options from
Yes,
one
sir.
hospital to.
Yes, sir.
I move to approve.
We move to approve.
Second.
Second by Ms. Pan. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? 36.
Recommend approval for 4 additional students to participate in the real estate license training and certification program with the University of Texas at Brownsville and Texas Southmost College within the limitations of the approved contract in the amount not to exceed $22,800. $20,800 previously approved. Services to be rendered or subject to district needs and funding.
Garcia. Ms. Garcia.
On this one, how many students have we gotten in the previous approval already registered for this program?
Not Ms. Monfils? Or, yes, Ms. Monfils.
Mr. President, Mr. Springston, members of the board, I believe we had 10, and we are now adding some additional students.
We're adding 4, am I correct?
Yes.
Total 14.
For another $2,000 extra.
Yes, sir.
I move to approve.
A second.
Been moved to approve. The second, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Ms. Perez.
Item 37, recommend approval to increase the set aside for supplemental educational services in the amount not to exceed $5,800,000, $300,000 previously approved from 211 ESEA Title I Part A funds for the 2009-2010 academic school year. Services to be rendered or subject to district needs and funding.
Ms. Garcia.
On that one, we were discussing that it was for the 5 high schools, and basically the programs that they're going to implement, have they been tried in other districts that'll work, or what is it that the implementation of to get us out of stage 3, I believe that's what it is?
Yes, ma'am, it is. And you have different vendors out there that have been TEA approved that can go out and solicit services from a parent individually to take their services and we have to pay the funds that are given to us from our AYP funds from Stage 3. And last count that I looked at, Ben, what was that, 30-something vendors that we have in our local area? I think I counted 30-something vendors.
32 to be exact.
32, that's what I knew was in that number.
We have contracts with 32 of them.
And to make sure that these people are actually providing services, how are we going to track them?
Basically, when they submit their invoices, they actually have to submit attendance sheets with them, showing the logging of the minutes that they actually do attend for the services and tutorials. So all of that is verified and computerized, and we do spot check. We do call every now and then, just call the parents and see was this going on, just to make sure that the invoices are on the up and up.
And if we find that they're not?
We reject the invoice and it has to be resubmitted.
Is it something that we deal with TEA on? Aren't these vendors TEA approved?
Yes, every one of them goes through the TEA scrutinization, and they are approved by the statewide.
So we'll be able to follow data statistically.
Well, each program is different. So if we want specific data on specific programs, we'd have to request it from the vendor or from the actual provider. And all of them do have their own. A lot of them have a pre and post test, and actually do track student progress throughout their program. So if we're curious on any one of them, or if you want to say suspicious of any one of them, we could ask for the specific reports and data to see how they're doing and how our kids are doing.
Well, I'm curious that we're not, and don't get me wrong when I say this, because I do not want to be on Stage 3, and I'm hoping that all of our high schools meet all AYP expectations, and we have no of these funds out there for these vendors to be able to use upon. My question here is when a student signs up with a certain vendor, we could track it ourselves on how well that child is doing if they're getting tutorial services.
Yes, we can.
And then is that something that we can also go back out and tell parents whether or not a program is being successful or not?
Unfortunately, the guidelines stipulate that we as a district cannot report anything on any particular vendor or provider.
So that means we're very limited.
Very limited in what we can do. Basically, all we can do is give them the information, and the parents have to basically make the call on their own.
Yeah, they knocked on my door and told me I could get a free computer if I signed up with them.
Yeah, that would be one of the providers.
Okay, and one last question here. $5,800,000.
5.8 million, yes, sir.
And the funding for this is going out for all of the students that we have with all 5 high schools initially to help these kids do what?
Basically improve the way the SES programs are set up is basically they're private tutorial companies, and each one of them has a specific, if you want to call it a program. Some are reading building programs, some are math programs, some are science programs. It just depends on the type of services the parent is interested in. For example, one of the more popular ones that we have here, which is local, is Sylvan, right down the street. So if you are a parent of a high school student and you know your child is struggling for math, you could actually go to Sylvan if you wanted to, or go through one of the other vendors, the other 30 that have contracts, call them up, talk to them, see what their program is about, and see which one best fits your particular child's needs.
And how are we reaching out? I had asked a question. I wasn't done with my question. No, sir. You gave me the floor before the administration came up. That's how I...
All right, it's okay. My apologies.
And how are you getting to the students and the parents to know that all these programs are out there? I know that there's a couple of students already with cell phones, and I think that's for the science program.
Yes.
And what they do is that the student has a cell phone, they get the cell phone, and then the tutor has a cell phone to where they communicate, and I think they tutor like 3 or 4 days out of the week or something like that. So I know that those programs are working.
Right.
But how are they getting from the actual vendor to the parents to the students?
Well, at the beginning of the year, we sent out an information packet to every parent of a high school student. So they got basically a 70-page information packet with all of the providers' information in there. That's the first wave. The second wave that we do is we do advertise periodically on our website. All of the information is available on our website. Also, we do ask that the high schools have an AYP contact to where if parents do have questions, they have someone they can call at the campus to ask them specific questions about specific vendors and get help that way. But I can tell you right now that the majority of the kids that have signed up, I would venture to guess that a good 80% of them is basically done by the vendors themselves. It's and a grassroots campaign. They're basically going, like Mr. Springston said, door to door, just knocking on people's doors and telling them about their program and signing them up.
Mr. Aguilar. My question is, and it's kind of along with what Ruben has been complaining about. We get this big, huge number, $5.8 million, and there's no breakdown of anything. And you want us to approve $5.8 million just like that? Where is this? What?
Why the number?
Why that number? It sounds like a pie-in-the-sky number.
Okay.
If it was additional funding we got from the state or something like that, okay, I can understand. But
It's a long answer, but I'll give you the answer, and I'll go slow so we can basically follow along. The No Child Left Behind Act, okay, has a provision in it called AYP. I've presented on AYP before. When campuses reach stage 2 and above, the district must offer supplemental educational services, or these SES services, to the students of those campuses. To pay for that, the district must set aside an amount equal to 20% of its Title I Part A allotment. That's where the $5.8 million comes into play. Now, in the past, and Ms. Monfils, correct me if I'm wrong, in the past, we have never released the full amount, simply because we always go with that first amount of about $300,000 to see what the interest is going to be amongst our students, okay? This year, we've had a tremendous increase of interest. Last year, at this time, we had about 150 students requesting services. As of today, we have 2,000 students signed up, okay? At $5.8 million, we can service about 3,600 kids. Okay, basically about 30% of our high school population. So that's where that number comes in. The district will pay up to $1,584 per student for these services. So that's where that money comes into play. And that's where basically all those numbers, what those numbers are.
Mr. Aguilar?
I might have gone too fast. Sorry about that. But
no, you can go fast. I'm just trying to figure. So this is based on 3,600, but right now we got 2,000 students.
Correct.
You expect 3,600?
Right now, I am pending another 900 applications that need to be processed.
Wow. Okay. And this money comes from where?
Title I. Title I.
No, I mean, is it go ahead, Ms. Monfils. You really looks like you want to say something.
You can go ahead.
Mr. Aguilar, Mr. Springston, members of the board, it's coming from Title I, and the federal Title I guidelines say that the district must, if the need is there, dedicate at least 20% of its federal funds to this SES for as long as a school is on stage 3, stage 4, stage 5.
But
we will only pay based on the invoices. And it is going to be, all the payments are to contracted services to these vendors that will turn in invoices, and they have documentation that students have been served. We won't use the $5.8 million unless it comes to the fact that that many students have been served for that many hours.
But maybe I need to ask it a different way. I guess we get a total allotment of Title I monies, and we budgeted them somehow when we did our budget. Did we not, Mr. Fuller? And so all of a sudden there's a $5.8 million change. How does that come into effect? Did we budget it when we adopted our budget at the beginning of the year? How did that come into effect? That's what I guess my question is.
Mr. Zayas, previously you approved a budget amendment for 211. I'm not sure what item number it was, but that was like $4 million. With about $3 million of that will be going towards this program.
And the other 2.8?
We're going to be using some AYP funds and then some other funds that we already have budgeted throughout the system.
But were they budgeted at the beginning of the year?
Yes, they're all supplemental funds.
Okay. So you're saying the 211 that were approved today,
Yes,
and those were additional funds?
those are additional funds due to the entitlement that we have received.
Okay, so we're getting the 3 million plus the 2.8 from previously budgeted.
About $1 million will either come from Fund 285, which is your ARRA funds, your ARRA monies, and AYP funds. And the rest we have already in supplemental funds in the budget.
Okay.
Mr. Estrada, in reference, Mr. Springsteen, Mr. Aguilar, in reference to the vendors, there's 32 vendors.
There's actually 61, but we have contracts with 32.
And are some of these vendors private, individual?
Yes, they are nonprofit and for-profit organizations.
Are any of these vendors employing our own teachers?
Yes, as a matter of fact, we actually recommend that they hire our teachers because they don't have to go through the criminal background check. Plus, they provide the services on campus to our students so we can keep a better eye on them. So we basically know who's providing the services to our kids.
It kind of bothers me a little, without coming across as a bad person, that this job needs to be done in the classrooms, what they got hired to do, and this is just me,
Right.
that the teachers, where I see some students end up having to pay for extra tutoring, and sometimes you get tutored by the same teacher that's teaching you in class, and this is just me. I am speaking, my personal opinion.
Right.
That you can't learn it in class, but you can learn it getting tutored and getting paid extra for it. So I'm just a little bit, it's a little bit.
The actual tutorials, like I said, each program has its own identity, if you want to call it.
Okay, excuse me, right there. You used the word tutorial. Tutorials is different is like after school tutorial program?
Yes, it's after school,
Okay,
before
no,
school.
I think those are excellent. I thought it
Right.
was something completely away from the school.
Oh, no. This
No,
is
no,
this
no.
is
Extra
strictly
tutorials? Okay,
Yeah, these
yeah.
are tutorials that can be done after school or before school, or in some cases
So
over the
you
week.
use those funds to pay those teachers while they're providing.
Correct.
Okay, that explains a
Correct.
lot. No, I'm 110% for tutorials.
Right, and just to finish what I was saying, the providers actually, if they have their own individual program, will come in and train our teachers to implement their program. So, I mean, it's strictly, it's
No,
in
no.
the hands of the providers.
Then I was completely on another track. No, I agree. If that's what it's doing, I'm 100% for that. That is very, very necessary. Thank you for the clarification.
And let me clarify a couple of statements you were concerned about young people learning what they should have learned in the classroom after school. Well, there are many factors why that happens. Sometimes schools don't go to class, and they miss out, and so they go after school to catch up to get the credit. Also, we need to congratulate the school district also because some of these program after school tutorials, ma'am, do not teach the same. They don't give them the same material they were in the classroom. They might teach the same objective, but they come up with different strategies. And this is why after-school tutorials are very successful. And so that's what really, I just wanted to clarify your concerns that
Yes.
it happens in the classroom.
Yes, but tutorials, yes. I was thinking totally someone had a business on the side that was completely away from the school. But no, tutorials, I'm 100% for that. I would always back that up. Thank you.
Mr. Cortez.
Well, most of my questions were answered. I just have one follow-up, and I guess to kind of feed off of one of your comments. These are private contractors offering tutorial services by hiring our teachers. It's not done by the schools. It is a private contractor, right? The 32 vendors are private companies?
Yes.
Right. Okay.
But they do
I
use
just wanted
our teachers, though, and our teachers
Right.
get paid for this. Am I right?
They can use our teachers. We recommend that they hire our teachers, but they can always.
My question was, when they use our teachers get paid to do this.
Yes.
So I'm
Yes, they
okay
do.
with that. But I was asking, is some of these private contractors, I guess what I'm asking, do our own employees have their own private little company?
No. That would
That's what I was asking.
No, that's not allowed.
Thank you. And I want clarification, and you clarified that.
Now going back to, the lack of information on this. I mean, we know that there's 32 approved. I'm sure somewhere the district has the fee schedules for all of these 32.
Yes.
It helps us get an idea of vendor A, B, C, all the way down to 32. If one charges $35 an hour, one charges $105 an hour. It helps us kind of gauge what we're about to approve tonight. And again, you know, months and months and months I ask for proper backup, and this is kind of what I'm talking about. You guys have the fee sheets for these 32 companies already, but they're not in the backup. I just get one page, and it doesn't give all the information that I would like to see on here. So just as another comment.
Mr. Cortez and Mrs. Springton, you know, it's all night I've been hearing the same dialogue, and also in the past. Now, what is it going to take for the administration to do this? Does it take that we just not vote on these items and cancel them, or table them for us to understand that the information that these board members are asking, just to put it there? No, it's not only he, but also the whole administration, whether it's curriculum, whether it's, you know, budget itself, and all these monies that these board members are asking, just break it down. I think they'll be satisfied with that, knowing that, of course, it might not be exact figures, because you know that it's going to go up or down. We don't know sometimes exactly what's going to happen, but at least give the board members an idea how we're going to spend this money, with the understanding, I guess, they can go in a different direction. Mrs. Springton.
Ben, is there, I know I was looking at all those 32 sheets, and I didn't see an exact breakdown on some of their pricing. I know they're different. Can you give me some type of guesstimates? I know I read some of those things, and I was looking at some of those contracts.
Guesstimate in terms of
what are they charging? I know.
Oh,
I know
I
how you
can
came up.
give you an idea on a few of them. Hang
Yes.
on one second. Just to give you an idea, I do know that Sylvan charges $41 an hour. Tutors with Computers, by far one of the more popular SES providers right now, charges $79 an hour. Read, Write, and Create actually has two different fees. They charge $90 individual and $45 group.
Okay, and that answers my questions. And to come back to the board now, I know that a couple of months ago I went back and we approved the SES providers and certain amounts, and we did that September 1, the $300,000. Would you like for me now to come back and show you what they are charging per student, per group? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
I'm looking for clarification on that
Mr.
one.
Springston, anytime that we can get a breakdown of what you're asking this board to approve, it always helps, you know. And now that you've brought up some dollar amounts, I just wonder what the differences are as far as expectation when the district itself hires teachers to do tutorial at $35 an hour, and then you get a program like Sylvan. What is the difference of instruction that they're getting from a teacher who stays after school and earns $35 an hour to one of our teachers who now probably gets paid $35 an hour to go work and teach for Sylvan, but Sylvan's billing us at $90 an hour? Is that what you said?
Sylvan is $41 an hour.
Oh, who did you say was 90?
Read, Write, and Create. Their individual rate is
Right.
$90 an hour.
And so, you know,
Not mine.
right, and I just wonder, you know, is it a legal requirement that we have to go with these 32 vendors? Is this not something that we can already do within the school district?
We don't have a choice.
Okay, thank you.
They are approved by the state.
They're approved by the state.
Yeah. And actually, just I know we were talking about Sylvan, but Sylvan has their own tutors. They do not hire our teachers. The only ones that hire our teachers are the providers that go and provide services at our campuses.
Mr. Aguilar?
Ms. Garcia, that asked.
Yes, so basically you said that we would have like about approximately 3,600 students?
We can serve
at least
3,600
3,000.
students.
So with 5.8, you're talking about 3,600 students, we would be paying like about 1,611 per student.
1584.
Yeah, more or less,
More or
right?
less.
I mean, I
Yeah,
figured
more or
out
less.
at 3,600, 1,611, at 3,000, 1,933. So that's per student. If we were to break it down into the actual numbers of students and the investment.
Right. Right.
Okay.
Mr. Estrada, Sylvan, would that be the location on 802?
Yes, ma'am.
If they were to hire our teachers, would that be inappropriate?
No, they actually choose not to. They have
And-
they have their own staff.
And I say this because there's teachers that work there.
Yes, and actually, I'm
work there.
I'm not aware of that. But if they
Would it
did,
be a problem for our district if they work there?
no, as long as they notify our Human Resources Department of the outside employment for conflict of interest, basically conflict.
I know some
conflict of
have
interest
done that,
format,
and I
but-
know that they have hired our teachers because, well, they're qualified. So
Yeah, I mean, it would be no different than a teacher working at HEB, part-time.
Okay.
Basically, just,
but they
it's
would
just
be okay
outside
'cause
employment.
when
Yes,
you
ma'am.
made that statement, it kind of. They work there. I know teachers
Right.
who work there, so I was wondering, would there be a problem? As long as they went through the proper course of letting people know they have another job. Okay, the
Correct,
administration.
correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
but
and again, in all my conversations with Sylvan, that has never come up. But
I guess they just don't want to share that they're using your own people because they're so qualified.
well, now I know. So
Yes. Thank you.
A motion?
A motion.
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
Item 43. Recommend awarding bid number 10-075 for the transportation parking lot addition to Peterson Construction Company, Los Fresnos, Texas, in the amount not to exceed $680,181 to be paid from local maintenance fund 199.
Mr. Science.
I forgot what I was going to ask.
Okay.
I
Do I have-
move to approve.
That be moved, and I have a second?
Second.
Second, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Closed meeting is pursuant to the Texas Government Code, Section 551071, 551072, 551074, 551082, and 551084.
Items will be 49 and 50, right?
Items would be 49. Discussion, consideration, and possible action, EEOC charge number 31C2009-01487C, TWC charge number 1A90891, grievance Ermelinda Gil Martinez. Item 50, recommend final approval and adoption of resolution number 17-0910 for the purchase of the real estate described below in the amount of $72,070, and to authorize the board president to sign the resolution and all other appropriate documentation required for final closing. Commitment for title insurance in the district's favor in the amount of the purchase price is in place issued July 16, 2009, effective June 19, 2009, and reviewed by council. Nice, sir. Te voy a mandar bastantes.
The mechanical ones.
Yes, sir. I'll send you whatever you want me to send you, sir.
Why are you worried?
No, I'm just curious. He didn't give him.
Oh, I'm gonna like that.
Ms. Perez?
Item 49. Possible action on EEOC charge number 31C2009-01487C, TWC charge number 1A90891, grievance Ermelinda Gil Martinez.
Move to approve as discussed in executive session.
Second.
All right, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. All right, ma'am, the next one, 50?
Move to approve.
Second.
I've been moved to approve, approval of another resolution number 0170910. Do I have a second?
I second.
Those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Excuse me, sir,
No.
announcements? Announcements, sir?
I tried, Chris.
Okay, just the only announcements is I've gone through the calendar already, so the next board meeting will be held Tuesday, November the 17th. November the 17th. Long time.
Okay. All right, do I have a motion? Yes.
To adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Just make the record, Escobedo, Ms. Presas were not present.
Yes, sir.
Good night, Chris. Love you.
You all went in at
Okay, that's my son. You too, Michael.
11:20.
My son. My son. I said he